How does someone politely end a conversation with a person who won't stop talking? With some people it's impossible. I worked with a guy who wouldn't stop talking, long boring stories with no point and no end. I was doing a course through distance learning at the time, so any downtime was spent studying. I politely asked him to be quiet, and explained the importance of the assignment I was working on. He agreed not to talk, but then sat there humming. This lasted about 10 minutes until he couldn't bear it anymore and started yabbering on again with his incessant nonsense. Yeah, I worked with a dude who needed to talk. I just talked to him to be polite and not awkward. And I remember him saying, "At least you're not one of those people who are silent all day." In my head I'm like, fuck, I wish I could be silent all day, but now that you said that it would be even more awkward. At some point I just mentally said fuck it and started giving him one-word replies. I think he got the hint because he started talking to me less. Eventually he quit after a couple months, so it's all good, but some people just need to talk for whatever reason. I need my freaking silence. In Flanders we have a word for it, bon, and then you say something I have work to do, it's time to go home, it's time to get drinks, and people realize the other person wants to leave without being mean, edit. I forget to mention the short slap that goes with it to give it more weight, and yes. It's a French word. People use it probably in France, Quebec and Wallonia too. But I never had a long conversation there. In the UK, our method is to slap our thighs and say right. Sadly this usually leads to the next hour of increasing levels of trying to leave. We do the same in Minnesota except it's, "Welp, suppose I should head out then," proceed to talk in the driveway for 30 minutes. In Spanish we say, bueno. There are several different ways to say the word that can mean something different in my culture. A quick, curt, bueno, and standing up or making a move means I gotta GTFO. A more drawn-out bueno, means I gotta go. But I'll say a few goodbyes first and you end up talking for a bit longer. A resigned, drawn-out bueno can mean okay, I'll stay for just a few more minutes. An annoyed and firm bueno means you need the other person to stop right in their tracks or you disagree with what they're saying and you're leaving. There are more ways to use the word, too. When they draw a breath, politely say, "On that note, I must be on my way." Then, simply leave. "Hello, on that note, I must be on my way." If they keep talking over polite cues, I have found there really isn't a polite way to exit the conversation. My workplace has someone like this, and it's pretty much become a part of our culture to monitor who is trapped talking to her, for how long they've been stuck, and to rescue them after an appropriate amount of time has passed. She doesn't get it, and probably never will. Wow, finally I don't feel alone. My dad is like that too. I learned to just walk away when I was 12 and he would follow me. One time I did it. I left the house to go to school and he still kept talking through the window when I was half a street away. He has followed me to the bathroom and keep talking from the other side of the door. I try to wait for him to finish an idea before he jumps to the next one to leave, but even that is hard because he takes so long to reach the point. One time we did a family trip. It lasted 2 days. I heard him talk for hours without anyone else making a sound. When we stopped that night after the first day, I asked my mom, she was the driver, if she wanted anything to eat, and she said, "I just want to be away from your dad," in the most exhausted voice I've heard. This. I had a coworker years ago that you literally just have to turn around and walk away. He wouldn't stop talking even if you said stuff like, "I have a meeting I'm supposed to be on, gotta go." He would just start talking again like he didn't even hear you. You literally just had to turn around and walk away while he was still talking. Sometimes as you'd walk away, he'd raise his voice and just yell to you across the room. It was fucking bizarre. I had a friend just like that. He was talking to me while I sat in my car one time. I started just easing off and he kind of moved along with my car until I ended up running over his foot. Then I had to stop and listen to him go on and on about having his foot run over. Then I had to stop and listen to him go on and on about having his foot run over. I'm honestly not even sure if you're serious, or if this is from a movie or something. When I first met my Mill I was shocked at how rude her whole family was. They would just walk away from her mid-sentence. It took a lot of work, but now I'm unable to do the same after 3 polite attempts to leave. I seriously need to learn how to do this. I'm too polite and like a magnet for these types who just want a warm body to talk at. Can barely get a word in edgewise, and when I do it's like they don't even hear me. I learned a trick. Most excessive talkers hate listening. So I simply participate and tell my own stories. After 1 or 2 stories they are usually ready to leave themselves to seek their next victim. Why go to is, I don't want to cut you short but I really need to get going. Let's connect another time. And that's it. Somebody who can't tell when I've talked too long. I am very open with most of my friends that I will try, but if it is ever time for me to stop talking, just tell me and I won't be offended. Friends like you who are willing to do that are the best. My friend has Asperger's and I actually asked him about how he knows a conversation is too long and we discussed how he can't recognize subtle social cues, so I started practicing with him. I'll literally put my hand up in a stop motion in front of him and say, "Can I stop you here?" or, "Sorry, I have to stop you there," and once he pauses I say my excuse and tell him that, "We'll talk more later." Gosh, you're such a good friend to take the time and effort to help your friend out this way. Yeah. 100%. You are a good friend. As a neurodivergent person myself I fall foul of not recognizing social cues myself. My so is much more sensitive to this. The agreed signal when I am seen dominating a conversation is the question, "Do you know the time?" This is my K2 check my phone, pause ask an open question. As a teacher, I have learned how to interrupt people who do not leave any pauses when they're speaking. Start nodding and verbally agreeing with them. You can't interrupt these people, but you can start agreeing while they speak, then raise your voice and say, "Yeah, wow, excuse me but I must go."